In the high-stakes game of global capitalism, most players are just following the rules. But what happens when a player decides to rewrite the entire rulebook? Tonight, we are not looking at a musician. We are looking at a social architect. We are looking at a man who turned the urban struggle into a strategic urban doctrine. Welcome to the Concrete Briefing. I am your host, Carter Concrete. Today, we conduct a forensic deep dive into the Curtis Jackson Strategic Doctrine. This is a story of economic flight, linguistic reclamation, and systemic navigation. We aren't just telling a story. We are analyzing a blueprint for the next century of Black economic power. Let's get to work. Let's start with the weaponization of language. Curtis Jackson has identified a profound disparity in the American legal lexicon, what we call the linguistic trap. Have you ever noticed who gets the label organized? Historically, in the American justice system, the term organized crime was a backhanded compliment reserved for white Italian Americans. Why? Because organized implies intelligence, structure, and strategic intellect. Jackson observes that when Black organizations achieve the same level of scale and revenue, the terminology shifts. They aren't organized. They are kingpins or gang leaders. This isn't just a choice of words, it is governmental discrimination embedded in our vocabulary. By denying the label organized, the system effectively denies the strategic genius behind the operation. Jackson's response is a masterclass in psychological warfare. He refuses the gang label entirely. Instead, he has pivoted into what he calls the corporate gang, the only collective where high-level success is legally protected and culturally celebrated. He is playing the game by their rules, but using his own vocabulary. Now, let's talk about the money. This is where the story turns into an economic thriller. In the traditional media hubs of Los Angeles and New York, production studios are currently staring down the barrel of a 58% tax rate. Let that sink in. For a Black-owned business trying to scale, that isn't just an expense, it is an extinction event. Jackson describes a landscape where major California companies are filing for bankruptcy because they couldn't survive this. Taxation redlining. Most people saw his move to Shreveport as a random relocation. We see it as an economic evacuation. Jackson didn't just move. He engaged in vulture capitalism for the community. He began purchasing high-end production equipment from those failing firms for pennies on the dollar. By relocating to a jurisdiction with functional tax incentives, he transformed the lack of investment in urban areas into a self-funded, high-octane economic engine. Can you buy peace? Curtis Jackson suggests you can, but it requires more than just a check. It requires strategic investment. For his Humor and Harmony weekend in Shreveport, Jackson invested $5 million of his own capital. He built a car show, a gym, and brought in his own restaurants, essentially constructing a microcity in 4 days. Here is the analytical insight that the mainstream media missed. Jackson spent $600,000 on law enforcement, paying officers roughly $65 an hour. Why pay the police so much? Jackson's argument is rooted in the psychology of engagement. He asserts that when law enforcement is in a good space and compensated fairly, their focus shifts from arrest-driven quotas to community cooling. The result? Over 4 days with 35,000 attendees, there was zero violence. This proves that urban violence is often a byproduct of a lack of investment and low morale. When you build an economy of harmony, the community responds in kind. To understand the man, you have to understand his internal doctrine. Jackson operates with a level of vigilance that borders on the legendary. Jackson analyzes the many men phenomena, the reality that a successful Black man becomes a valuable piece on a metaphorical chessboard. If the opposition can hit a central figure, they create chaos and confusion for the entire side. Jackson's advice to younger artists like Lil Durk is a formal directive on survival. He famously questions his own associates. If you got pulled over and you not in jail, why are you not in jail? In the urban struggle, the system often uses proximity and internal leaks to dismantle success. Jackson's argument is that trust is a liability. In this game, Awareness is your only true protection. He maintains authentic professional boundaries, refusing to participate in the front-hugging social dynamics that often lead to security breaches. As we conclude this briefing, we must look at the cultural history of the man. Curtis Jackson has bypassed the traditional Bible Belt entertainment format of creators like Tyler Perry. Instead, he has created for us, by us, Fubo television that reflects the raw reality of the streets while maintaining corporate-level production values. From raising $500,000 for Houston's youth to building a production empire in Louisiana, Jackson is proving that Black economic ability is only limited by the structures we choose to accept. The Shreveport model is a repeatable blueprint for urban revitalization. It requires 3 core pillars: rejecting labels that diminish intellect, moving capital to where it is respected, creating humor and harmony through fair compensation and morale building. The facts are clear. The strategy is proven. The struggle is no longer just a fight. It is a calculated, strategic maneuver. This has been the Concrete Briefing. I'm Carter Concrete. Stay sharp, stay informed, and stay building.